Year 4 and welcome to day 14 of our home learning. It is Thursday the 28th of January 2021 and I am looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow when I come and pick up your work. I had to go and deliver work to the children who had not completed it properly. So make sure, because I don't want to be making an extra visit to your house. Okay? Let's get started. Okay, early morning work. So, again, I'll go through them and then you need to pause the video and then we'll go through the answers. Okay? So, number 1, complete the bar model. How much is the total? The total along the top is 39. So the whole bar is 39. Now the second bar, the yellow one, is divided into how many parts? So what is the value of each of those parts in the bar model? What calculation would you write? Number 2, use a part-whole model to calculate 16 multiplied by 5. So what I would do is, in the top circle, what are you going to write? The whole calculation. 16 multiplied by 5. And how are you going to divide that calculation up to make it easy for you? Look at 16. What is 16 made up of? Think about the 2 digits that you have and do them in the 2 circles. Number 3. Ranjit ran 5 miles each day for a week. Jerry ran 4 miles a day for 4 days. How many miles did they run all together? And number 4, use the counters to divide by 2. So work out how many counters they are and how would you divide those counters into 2 sets, and what would your answer be? Number 5, odd one out. Can you look at all the calculations that are in the boxes, work out the answers and then decide which one is the odd one out and tell me why? So pause the video now while you work that out for me. Okay then, let's go through the answers. So number 1, complete the bar model. So I've got 39 is the total of the 3 parts. So my calculation would be 39 divided by 3. So how many 3's in 39? I know 10 3's are 30 and 3 3's are 9. So each part would be 13. Number 2, use a part-whole model to calculate 16 multiplied by 5. So in my top circle, I would do 16 multiplied by 5 calculation. And then in the one circle, I would do 10 multiplied by 5 equals 50. And in the other circle, I would do 6 multiplied by 5 equals 30. So 10 times 5 equals 50, and 6 multiplied by 5 equals 30. 50 add 30 equals 80. Number 3, Ranjit ran 5 miles each day for a week. Jerry ran 4 miles a day for 4 days. Now look at the question that is in bold. How many miles did they run all together? So I worked out that Ranjit ran 5 miles each day, so there's 7 days in a week. So 5 multiplied by 7 is 35. And Jerry ran 4 miles for each day for 4 days, so 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. I added 35 and 16 together to find the total amount of miles, and that came to 51. Number 4, use the counters to divide by 2. Now I worked out there was 68 there, and I divided them by 2, and I got the answer 34. Number 5, odd one out. So I did all the calculations for each of those number sentences in the boxes. So 10 times 7 is 70, 7 times 11 is 77, 5 times 14 is 70, and 100 minus 30 is 70. So which is the odd one out? It is the 7 multiplied by 11, 7/11s, because that's 77, and all the others are 70. Brilliant. Okay, so what we're going to do today in English is we are going to finish our information text on dragons. So think about what we needed to include in the main part of the text. Can you remember? Well, I put them there anyway that I thought you could include. You may have done lots more. So I wanted you to think about how do dragons move? What do dragons eat? Where do they live? Do they hibernate? And what happens to the dragon egg before it hatches and after it hatches? So I have thought about the first question. How do dragons move? So I have got a subheading. Let's move on. So I've got a subheading which is on the side, how do dragons move? And here is my paragraph. Different dragons move in different ways. Some dragons can only fly using their huge wings to maneuver quickly from one place to another. Now the word maneuver, can you think what it means? Maneuver? It means to move. These dragons only have small legs and they are not strong enough to hold the dragon up. When they have caught their food, they grip it tightly in their jaws. Other dragons use their hind legs to stamp across the land, taking steps the size of buildings. Smaller dragons use all 4 legs to move around the land, but they can also use 2 legs to run whilst holding their prey. I'll read that again for you. Follow it. Different dragons move in different ways. There is my first sentence that introduces what my paragraph is going to be about. So different dragons move in different ways. Some dragons can only fly using their huge wings to maneuver quickly from one place to another. These dragons only have small legs, and they are not strong enough to hold the dragon up. When they have caught their food, they grip it tightly in their jaws. Other dragons use their hind legs to stamp across the land, taking steps the size of a building. Smaller dragons use all 4 legs to move around the land, but they can also use 2 legs to run whilst holding their prey. So what I would like you to do, I would like you to complete now your information text, and I want you to make sure you have at least used most of these questions as your subheading. So have you included how do dragons move? What do dragons eat? Where do they live? And do they hibernate? And what happens to the dragon egg before it hatches and after it hatches? Remember, you might need to have made some of that information up. Okay, so what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause the video now, and when you have finished, you've got one small task to do before you move on to the next lesson. Okay, so pause the video now and then come back once you have completed that task. Okay, so you now have completed your information text about the dragons. You've included all those subheadings, or as many of those as you can, and you have written some fantastic paragraphs. What I would like you to do, exactly what we do with our green pens at school, I would just like you to go through and check it. Okay? Now, these are the things I need you to check. I would like you to make sure that your writing is making sense. Read it out loud and listen. Is it making sense, or have you made some mistakes? Have you missed words out? Have you put too many words in? Make sure, because this is what you learn in year one, capital letters and full stops. They need to be right. Have you included your subheadings and you have underlined those? And have you included a fronted adverbial? And have you included an expanded noun phrase? For example, huge dragon. Okay, so pause the video now whilst you do that before we go on to our reading workshop. Okay, now we're going to read chapter 2 of our book, The Firework Maker's Daughter. Okay, a couple of problems first. I don't know how, but some of the pages are missing, but I'm going to read them to you. Okay, so you can keep playing it back. Okay, and I just want you to answer these questions first before I read you the second chapter. Now, what I'll do is I'll read some of it, but every other page is there. Okay, I don't know what's happened for that to happen. Okay, so we can definitely read up to, you've got page 18 and 19, so you're missing 15, 16 and 17. Okay, so I want you to read. I'll start reading and then I'll leave you to read up to the end of the chapter. And then you can answer these questions. So, chapter 2. Next morning, while Lachlan was at the paper merchant's buying some cardboard tubes, Lila went to the elephant house to see Chulak. When she heard what Lachlan had told him, she was furious. Mount Merapi was Vanny the Royal Sulphur, and he wasn't going to tell me. Oh, I'll never forgive him. That's a bit drastic, said Chulak, who was busy making the elephant ready for his new job. He's only thinking of you. It's dangerous after all. You wouldn't catch me going up there. Huh, she said. It's all right to let me make golden sneezes and Java lights, I suppose, little baby things, but not to let me become a real firework maker. He wants me to stay a child forever. Well, I'm not going to. Chulak, I've had enough. I'm going to Mount Merapi, and I'm going to bring back the Royal Sulphur, and I'll set up as a firework maker on my own and put my father out of business. You are if I don't. You see if I don't. No, wait. You ought to talk to him. But Lila wouldn't listen. She ran straight home, packed a little food to eat and a blanket and a few bronze coins, and left a note on the workshop bench. Dear Father, I have completed my apprenticeship. Thank you for all you have taught me. I am going to seek the Royal Sulphur from Razvani, the fire fiend, and I shall probably not see you again. Your ex-daughter, Lila. Then she thought she should take something to show Razvani her skill, and packed a few self-igniting crackle dragons. One of the last things she had invented was a new way of setting them off. You just had to pull a string instead of setting light to them, because the string was soaked with a solution of fire crystals. She put 3 of them in her bag, took one last look around the workshop, and slipped away. When Lachlan came back and found her note, he read it with horror. "Oh, Lila, Lila, you don't know what you're doing," he cried, and ran out into the alley. "Have you seen Isla?" he asked, the fried prawn seller. "She went off in that direction about half an hour ago." "She had a bundle on her back," added the batik painter. "Looked as if she was going on a journey." Lachlan hurried after her at once, but he was an old man with a weak heart, and he couldn't run fast, and the streets were crowded. Rickshaw drivers jostled with bullock carts. A caravan of silk traders was pushing its way through the market, and in the Grand Boulevard a procession was going past. The crowd was so thick that Lachlan couldn't move any further. The reason for all the excitement was that the white elephant was being led to his new owner. Chelak was leading Hamlet at the head of the procession, and with them came musicians playing bamboo flutes and banging teak drums, and dancers swaying and snapping their fingernails, and a troop of servants with a tape measure ready to measure Hamlet's new home for the silk curtains and velvet carpets the owner would have to buy. Flags flapped and banners waved in the sunlight, and the white elephant shone like a snowy mountain. Lachlan forced his way through the crowd to Chelak's side. "Did you tell Lila about Razvani and the royal sulphur?" he panted. "Course," said Chelak. "You should have told her yourself." "Why?" "Because she's gone, you wretch. She's gone off by herself to Mount Merapi, and she doesn't know the rest of the secret." "Is there more, then?" "Of course there is," said Lachlan, struggling to keep up. "No one can go into the Fire Fiend's grotto without protection. You have this now, so you should be following it." "She needs a flask of magic water from the goddess of the Emerald Lake. Otherwise she'll perish in the flames." "Oh, Chelak, what have you done?" Chelak gulped. They were nearly at the house of the white elephant's new owner, and they had to slow down to allow all the dancers and musicians and flag bearers to get through the gate first, and form 2 lines for the white elephant to walk between. Then Hamlet whispered, just loud enough for Chelak to hear. "I'll find her. Help me get away tonight, Chelak, and we'll go and take Lila the magic water." "Good idea," whispered Chelak, beaming. "Just what I was going to suggest." He turned to Lachlan and said, "Listen, I've got a proposition." Now, a proposition is an idea. I've got something to put to you. Me and Hamlet will find her. We'll get out tonight. Emerald Lake, goddess, magic water, Mount Merapi. Nothing to it. Then Chelak turned to the servants. "Mind out the way," he called. "We've got to get him round the corner. Dear, dear, what a narrow gate. That'll have to come down. And what's this? Gravel? You want the white elephant to walk on gravel? Fetch a carpet at once, a real one. Go on, Harry." He clapped his hands and the servants bowed and scampered away. In the background, the new owner was tearing his hair. Chelak whispered to Lachlan once more, "Don't worry, we'll get away tonight. All we need is a tarpaulin." "A tarpaulin? Whatever for?" "Do you know what a tarpaulin is?" It's a big bit of material that you might put on top of poles in the summer to keep the sun out, or it might go over a car. to keep the frost off. No time to explain now, just bring one to the gate tonight. And Lachlan had to make do with that. He went back to the workshop feeling heavy-hearted. So he was really... All this while, Lila had been making her way through the jungle towards the sacred volcano. Mount Merapi lay far to the north, and she had never seen it until late that afternoon. She came to a bend in the jungle path and found herself beside the river. The size of the great mountain made her gasp. It was far away on the very edge of the world, but even so it reached halfway up the sky, with the bare sides rising in a perfect cone to the glowing crater at the top. From time to time the fire spirits who lived there rumbled angrily underground and threw boiling rocks high into the air. A plume of eternal smoke drifted from the summit to join the clouds. How can I ever get there, she wondered, and felt her heart quail. But she had chosen to make the journey, and she could hardly turn back when she'd barely begun. She shifted her bundle from one shoulder to the other and walked on. The jungle was a noisy place. Monkeys gibbered in the trees, and parrots screeched, and crocodiles snapped their jaws in the river. Every so often Lila had to step carefully over a snake sleeping in the sun. And once she heard the roar of a mighty tiger. There was no one to be seen except some fishermen laboriously rowing their boat across the other side of the river. She stopped and watched as they brought their boat in towards the bank where she was standing. They weren't making very good progress. There were 6 or 7 of them, and all their oars were getting in one another's way. What do you think laboriously means? I wonder if you can tell me on Friday when I come round to collect your work. Okay, there's a sweetener for you. As she watched, one of the fishermen missed the water completely with his oar, which swung round and clumped another fisherman on the head. That fisherman turned round and punched the first one, who fell off his seat with a squeal and dropped the oar in the water. One of the others tried to grab it, but instead he fell out of the boat, which rocked so violently that the others all cried out in alarm and grabbed the sides. The man who'd fallen out was splashing and spluttering as he tried to climb back into the boat, and all the crocodiles basking in the shallows looked up interested. You can just imagine that, can't you? Lila caught her breath in alarm, but the fisherman was so helpless that she could hardly stop herself laughing, because when the man in the water leaned over the gunwale, all the men in the boat leaned over that side to help him, and the boat tipped over so far that they nearly fell in two. They suddenly realised what was happening and let go, and then the boat tipped back the other way, and they all fell on their backs, and the crocodiles slid off their sandbank and began to swim towards them. "Oh, pull 'em in, you stupid creatures," Lila cried. "Over the end, not over the side." One of the fishermen heard her and hauled the man over the stern to lie in the bottom, flopping and gasping like a fish. Meanwhile the boat had drifted into the side, and Lila put out a hand to stop it bumping. As soon as they saw her, the fishermen nudged one another. "Look," said one. "Go on," muttered one of them. "You ask her." "No, it was your idea. You do it." "It wasn't me. It was Chang." And then you can read the rest of it yourself. Okay, up to page... Well, right up to the end of your booklet. Okay? And then if you can answer those questions, that would be great. Pause the video now. Thank you. Okay, so this afternoon you are going to do some art. Now, I want you to remember all the fantastic artwork that you have done on portraits and the skills that you've been working on during your art lessons in schools with Mrs. Begum. Okay, so remember the shading, the cross hatching, and I put a little diagram on there for you to have a really good think about what each one is like. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to use those skills that you've already learned, and this is what I want you to think about. Okay, I want you to think about the different emotions that you might feel. Now, your emotion is how you feel. So you could be happy or ecstatic. You could be really sad. You could be really angry. You could be mischievous. You could be worried or anxious. Okay? So, how would you look when you are showing these feelings? So, what I would like you to do, if you've got a mirror, I'm sure you all have, because I know I've got some poses in my class. Okay, I want you to have a look in the mirror and I want you to think about those feelings. Okay, and then what I would like you to do is I would like you to draw a portrait of you and then shade it using the different methods that were on the slide before. Okay, so let's move on. So, as I said, I want you to think of 4 different feelings. I want you to draw 4 portraits of you showing any of those feelings. Space them out, okay? Then I want you to shade them using all those different techniques that you've already learned. And then I want you to put a thought bubble from each. And I want you to think about, so this is me, not really me, but this is me being angry. Okay? So my example is me being angry. Look at the eyes, look at the mouth. You can see that I'm angry. Yeah, just by the shape. And my thought bubble is I am angry when Sophia does not do as she is told. Okay, so what makes you angry? Okay, so you need 4 different emotions, so 4 different portraits. You need to shade those in using the techniques. You might do a different technique in each of those portraits to show all of the fantastic skills that you have learned. Then I would like you to do 4 different thought bubbles to tell me when you are angry, when you are happy, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what's made you worried, and it could be anything that is to do with you. Right, now I want to say again, thank you. I'm so proud that you're all having a go at all of the work. Remember, if you don't, then I will be bringing it back and you will have to complete it. If I would like you to read your book for 20 minutes and then 20 minutes on Times Table Rock Stars because you haven't had any maths again today. Okay? Brilliant. Well done, year 4. If you need to go back, rewind it. Okay? Go back and then listen to bits again, what you need to. Well done.